Okay, and we're live. This is my video on state diagrams, again using my Hibernate sword application from earlier. So in my previous video, we talked about use case diagrams. Let's turn on that wonderful screen share. Here we go. So this is the use case diagram that I talked about earlier. And one of the cool things that you can do with a use case diagram is, from this diagram, extrapolate exactly how a program will function. And to that end, create a state diagram that denotes the different states in which the program will reside, and specifically what loops, conditional statements, when there will be a choice to be made by the application or user. And these things are all denoted in this diagram. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit for you. There we go. So we have the program initialization. In this particular program here in, where did NetBeans go? There we go. We have a, basically the data variable is initialized. That's what this box references. It probably shouldn't say get data, but there you go. And then we are delivered to a controller, which is denoted by this rhombus, I believe. Yes, a rhombus. And this rhombus is in a state diagram to note that either a user or basically that some sort of choice is being made. There's a crossroads which needs to be navigated. And in this case, there's a main menu. And in this particular main menu, there are 4 choices. We can view all swords from a database, add a sword, search for a sword, or just quit. And again, this is easily, this is shown in practice here in the code. We have in this case, a switch statement, so a literal switch statement with 4 cases. And so looking at this diagram, a programmer can say, okay, so there's some sort of matrix which choices are being made by the user. Let's build a interface to accomplish that, which is what I have done earlier. And so from there, we can view all swords. And in this case, we're in a state where we are retrieving all swords from a database. And at that point, we can either success or fail, in which case we will, in the case of success, we'll display results. In the case of failure, we'll return to the main menu with an explanation why. And the same thing goes for adding a sword and searching for a sword, except for there we're in a state where we're looking for user input, validating user input, these sorts of things, which we then transition into a state where we're interacting with the database in some way. We're either inserting into the database and requesting validation, or we're querying the database to retrieve data from it. So these are 2 fundamentally different types of interaction with a database. It's either a in the raw SQL, it would be like insert into swords, yada yada yada, this input into these columns, and whereas in query database it would be select all, where sword name is equal to the input that I got. So that's the here, let's actually move this down here, because that's where that needs to be. Yeah, that's I'm going to change that. So this is the state diagram of the program that denotes, again, a very simple application's various states in which it exists. And yeah. So again, back to what a state diagram actually is. A state diagram is a attempt to graphically depict the behavior of a given system or application, things like that. So this behavior is represented as a series of events which result in various states. And so, and one of the interesting things that I've found is that it's very similar to a flowchart, but extremely different at the same time, in that a flowchart just it'll automatically move on upon the completion of an activity, whereas a state diagram relies upon events. An event is triggered, and therefore a new state is moved into. For instance, here in the main menu, we can sit there indefinitely until a user gives input. Once a user gives input, makes a decision. Oh, pardon me, it's very, very long there. Oh. When a user makes a decision, then a new state is transitioned into, and then then we either get a result of success or fail, and then another state is transitioned to on the case of success, where we are relating the results of the given query to the user. So again, this is my best attempt at explaining a state diagram of a program that I wrote earlier in the semester, and hopefully I didn't explain it too poorly. Any feedback is appreciated. Thank you very much.